The year was 1700, and the winds of change swept across Europe like an unrelenting tide. The Great Northern War had begun, and the struggle for control over the Baltic Sea was set to reshape the continent. Nations clashed in a brutal contest of ambition, power, and survival. Among the players in this deadly game were Sweden, led by the young and audacious King Charles XII, and a coalition of enemies: Russia under the formidable Tsar Peter I, Denmark-Norway, and Poland-Lithuania, all vying for dominance in a region gripped by turmoil. In Stockholm, the Swedish court bustled with activity. Charles XII, barely 18, had ascended to the throne only 3 years prior. Many underestimated him, dismissing him as a boy unprepared for the heavy burden of kingship. Yet behind his youthful exterior lay a mind sharp as a blade and a resolve hardened by the weight of responsibility. Sweden, a powerful empire of the north, now faced its gravest challenge. Charles knew that his leadership would determine the fate of his nation. The first move in this intricate chess game came from Denmark-Norway, which sought to undermine Swedish control over the southern Baltic region. Charles, however, struck swiftly and decisively. Leading a daring naval assault on Copenhagen, he forced King Frederick IV of Denmark to capitulate. The Treaty of Travendal secured peace on one front, allowing Charles to turn his attention to the greater threat: Russia. Tsar Peter I, known as Peter the Great, was a visionary ruler with a singular goal: to modernize Russia and secure a warm water port on the Baltic Sea. To achieve this, he had founded St. Petersburg, a city built on the marshy shores of the Neva River. For Peter, the Baltic was the key to Russia's future, and he would stop at nothing to wrest control from Swedish hands. The Swedish army, hardened by years of warfare, was among the most disciplined and effective in Europe. Among its ranks was Captain Erik Nordland, a veteran soldier whose loyalty to his king and country was unwavering. Erik had seen the horrors of war, yet his resolve never faltered. By his side was Lieutenant Johan, a bright but inexperienced officer eager to prove himself in battle. Together, they formed a bond of camaraderie that would be tested in the fires of conflict. The opening salvo in the war between Sweden and Russia came at the Battle of Narva in 1700. Charles XII, leading his troops with unparalleled bravery, faced a Russian army that outnumbered his own by nearly 4-1. The battlefield, shrouded in snow and smoke, became a crucible of chaos and carnage. Despite the odds, Charles's tactical genius turned the tide. A ferocious storm blinded the Russian forces, while the Swedes pressed their advantage with precision. The victory at Narva cemented Charles's reputation as a military prodigy and struck fear into the hearts of his enemies. Erik and Johan fought side by side at Narva, their swords cutting through the chaos as they rallied their comrades. Johan's initial excitement gave way to the grim reality of war as he witnessed the brutality of battle. Erik, ever the seasoned warrior, guided him through the turmoil, his voice a steady anchor amidst the storm. The triumph at Narva was a moment of pride, but it also marked the beginning of a long and arduous campaign. The years that followed were marked by relentless conflict. Charles XII led his army deep into enemy territory, his sights set on dismantling the coalition against him. In 1703, the Swedes captured the fortress of Nyenschans, threatening Peter's nascent city of St. Petersburg. Yet Peter, ever resourceful, refused to be deterred. He rallied his forces and fortified his position, determined to hold on to his dream of a modern Russia. As the war dragged on, the Swedish army faced mounting challenges. The harsh winters, treacherous terrain, and stretched supply lines took their toll. Erik and Johan, now seasoned comrades, bore the brunt of these hardships. Their friendship deepened as they shared moments of triumph and despair. Johan's youthful idealism was tempered by the realities of war, while Erik found solace in the bond they had forged. In 1708, Charles XII made a bold decision to invade Russia, aiming to deliver a decisive blow to Peter's ambitions. The campaign was fraught with peril. The Russian strategy of scorched earth left the Swedish army without resources, and the brutal winter claimed countless lives. Erik and Johan endured unimaginable hardships as they marched through the desolate landscape, their survival a testament to their resilience. The turning point came at the Battle of Poltava in 1709. Tsar Peter, having learned from his earlier defeats, had transformed the Russian army into a formidable force. The Swedish army, weakened by months of deprivation, faced an uphill battle. Erik and Johan fought with unwavering determination, but the odds were insurmountable. The Russian artillery rained destruction, and the Swedish lines crumbled under the onslaught. In the chaos of Poltava, Charles XII was wounded, and the Swedish forces were forced to retreat. Erik and Johan found themselves among the survivors, their spirits crushed but their bond unbroken. They became fugitives, navigating a hostile landscape teeming with Russian patrols. Hunger and exhaustion gnawed at them, yet they pressed on, driven by the faint hope of reaching friendly territory. One fateful night, as they huddled in the ruins of an abandoned village, Erik revealed a secret he had carried for years. Before the war, he had been part of a covert mission to gather intelligence on Russia's defenses. During that time, he had established contact with a network of Russian dissidents who opposed Peter's rule. These dissidents, known as the Obshchina, were a clandestine group working to undermine the Tsar's regime. Erik believed that the Obshchina could offer them refuge. With no other options, Johan agreed to follow Erik's lead. Their journey to find the dissidents was fraught with danger. Russian soldiers roamed the countryside, and betrayal lurked around every corner. Yet Erik's resourcefulness and Johan's determination saw them through. When they finally reached the Obshchina's safe house, they were met with suspicion. The dissidents, wary of outsiders, demanded proof of Erik's claims. Erik's knowledge of their operations and a coded letter from his past mission convinced them to grant the fugitives sanctuary. Among the dissidents was Elena, a fierce and intelligent woman who had lost her family to the Tsar's purges. She saw potential in Erik and Johan, enlisting them in the Obshchina's cause. Under Elena's guidance, Erik and Johan became integral to the dissidents' efforts. They participated in sabotage missions, gathered intelligence, and spread propaganda to weaken Peter's grip on power. Johan, once an idealistic young officer, transformed into a skilled operative, his resolve hardened by the trials he had endured. Erik, haunted by the ghosts of the past, found purpose in their shared struggle. The Obshchina's actions began to ripple across Russia, sowing discord and unrest. Tsar Peter's forces responded with ruthless efficiency, and the dissidents faced mounting pressure. Friends were lost, safe houses compromised, and the dream of liberation seemed ever more distant. Yet Erik and Johan pressed on, their bond a source of strength in the darkest of times. As the war neared its end, the Great Northern War had reshaped the political landscape of Europe. Charles XII returned to Sweden, his dreams of empire shattered but his legacy intact. Tsar Peter emerged victorious, his vision of a modern Russia realized at great cost. For Erik and Johan, the war left scars that would never fully heal. Yet they carried with them the knowledge that they had fought for something greater than themselves. On the shores of the Baltic Sea, as the sun set over the water, Erik and Johan stood together, their gazes fixed on the horizon. "We may not have won the war," Erik said, his voice tinged with both sorrow and pride, "but we've found a way to keep fighting. And sometimes, that's enough." Johan nodded, his eyes reflecting the depth of his experiences. "We've lost much, but we've gained something that can't be taken away, the strength to endure and the will to rebuild." Their story, like the Great Northern War itself, became a testament to the resilience of the human spirit. Amidst the chaos and destruction, they had forged a bond that transcended borders and defied the odds. And as the waves lapped at the shore, they knew that their journey was far from over.